Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the New York Jets signing Frank Gore. But before we get started, I just wanted to mention that you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY, and you can also subscribe to my podcast, Just Jets. Call in, ask me your questions. New episodes come out every Monday. So now that we got that out of the way, let's jump right into it. The New York Jets signed Frank Gore to a one-year deal. Now, Frank Gore is one of the best running backs of all time. He is third all-time in rushing yards, and he is also 37 years old. So yes, there is no denying that Frank Gore is a legend. It's just a matter of how much does he have left in the tank at almost 40. Gore played for Adam Gase in Miami in 2018, so there's a connection there. Obviously, he's an Adam Gase guy, and his YPA over the last 4 years looks like this. 3.6 last year in Buffalo, 4.6 in Miami with Gase, 3.7 and 3.9. Last year in Buffalo, he had 599 yards on 166 touches. If you want to make the comparison with Bilal Powell, because I essentially think that Gore was brought in here to replace a Bilal Powell. I understand that P. Ryan is essentially Bilal Powell 2.0, but who better to mentor that guy than the one that you want P. Ryan to turn into in Bilal Powell, in someone who could do a little bit of everything. Powell had 229 yards on 59 touches, and his last 4 years of YPA is 3.9, 4.3, 4.3, and 5.5. So in 3 out of the last 4 years, he's had more yards per attempt than Frank Gore has. Powell's also 31 years old. He's 6 years younger than what Frank Gore is, and you know what you're going to get out of Powell. You don't necessarily know what you're going to get from a 37-year-old running back. Now, again, I understand this isn't about what Frank Gore has done. He's one of the best running backs of all time. The fact that he's still in the league at 37 is crazy, but I don't know how much you could actually expect this guy to produce on the field. You're going to sell me on he's a leader in the locker room. Okay. But eventually you have to produce a little bit on the field. He's going to back up Le'Veon Bell as RB2, I'd imagine, but I would really, at this point, I would rather Bilal Powell. He's better than what Frank Gore is at this point in his career. Not over the course of his career. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying, 10 years ago or 7 years ago that Bilal Powell is better than Frank Gore. But as it stands right now in 2020, I would rather have Bilal Powell for the veterans minimum than signing a guy like Frank Gore. And something to take note of with Adam Gase and his usage of Frank Gore, a little bit on the scary side. So in 2018, he had both Gore and Kenyon Drake on the roster. Gore got significantly more touches running the ball. They had essentially the same yards per attempt, but for whatever reason, he relied more heavily on the veteran, the 35-year-old, than giving the 24-year-old, who is more volatile in the passing attack as well, less reps. To me, that just makes no sense. I'm not necessarily saying that he's going to get more time than Le'Veon Bell. I think that'd be a little bit crazy, but I wouldn't be surprised after the comments that we heard yesterday that he expects to lessen the load for Le'Veon Bell, that we see more of Frank Gore than you might be expecting. So yes, I understand that it's hard to get worked up over a running back too, but when you have one of the most underappreciated and underutilized Jets of the last decade just sitting there waiting for a contract, and you go out and you sign a, once again, 37-year-old running back, it's a little bit of a head scratcher. I understand that he could bring the intangibles to the room. I get that. But for what the New York Jets need, they need more of a Bilal Powell. Someone who could do a little bit of everything, and someone who isn't decrepit at this point. He's done. Frank Gore's done. He's not as good in the passing game as what Bilal is, and he's not as good as picking up the blitz as what Bilal is. I don't know. I just would have rather Bilal Powell to be the one to show LaMichael P. Ryan the ropes here, rather than someone who is essentially just brought in to do that. I don't think that you could expect much of an increase in production out of Gore this year. Let me know what you think of the signing down in the comments below. You might be a little bit more positive on it than I am. I understand. But get at me on social media or in the comments about the signing. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Once again, I'm Matt O'Leary, and I'll talk to you next time.